rigs for those. The precision that's required
Hey,
is
Stuart,
crazy.
you want to do it?
We should do it.
Let's do it.
I'm
Let's
into
do it.
But yeah, the precision for something like that is
Let's
nuts.
ruin our
and
weekend and try and get a 2-second clip.
Yeah, but for real, like it could take a couple days to get 5 seconds.
Welcome to the Photography Opinion Podcast. We discuss all things photo, video, and camera related. I'm Ben Lucas.
And I'm Stuart Marlantis.
And this is Photo Op.
Should I take my glasses off? Is that glare
can't see your
too...
feed.
Oh, you can't see my feed.
So no, it looks fine. Is your light really low on your desk or what? Like, what? It shouldn't be. Like, you should pretty much have to do that to get it in your.
I
glasses,
literally
right?
can't put my light any taller because I have a slanted ceiling.
Oh, that's right. The slant is right behind you. I forgot about
My
that.
light is maybe a fist width above my monitor.
Yeah, okay.
So
That
it's
makes
still
sense.
above my eye line, but I can't get it any taller.
And to be fair, I added little like cheap goosenecks on the top of my light stands
Oh,
so
that's a
that
good
they
idea.
would be, because they were like $12 or something, and I'm like, well, now it's easier to aim and it's even higher.
If I put the light any higher, it'll hit the ceiling, which actually kind of renders my standing desk useless. So I got to figure that one out. Oh, we're recording. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Photo Op Podcast. I am Ben Lucas, and this is
I am Stuart Marlantis, and this is the kind of thing that we talk about when we are not recording is still photography stuff. It never ends.
It never ends, all the time, people. We do have a couple of fun ones coming down the pipeline, though. I will start off by saying we are on my YouTube channel. I'm going to be doing Pokemon Snap Let's Play. How does a professional photographer play Pokemon Snap? If you're into that sort of thing, I think it'll be interesting. So there's some fun content coming down. But today, I got a question that a while back that I wasn't quite sure how to answer because it was just way too vague. So we're trying to make it a little more concrete and nailing it down into a actual episode today. So how long is a photo shoot? I'm going to start off by saying it's a bad question because I have no idea what kind of photo shoot you're talking about. So what we're going to do today is I just kind of picked like a bunch of genres that I think might come up to the type of person who listens to this podcast. And we're just going to talk about what is kind of entailed in that and then give you a rough estimate time frame. That said, every shoot is different. I've done shoots that are 4 minutes. I've done shoots that are, multiple days. So, take it with a grain of salt, but we're just going to talk about kind of our experiences with these different genres and give you kind of a rough estimate on what you can plan for. So I'm going to start off with a bang with what I call the celebrity photography. Now, you might be like, whoa, I'm just an independent photographer. I don't shoot celebrities, right? You can also classify this as corporate or anyone where a time crunch is going to happen where you might have all the time in the world, but your client doesn't. So whether you're Joe McNally shooting James Brown and you have 30 seconds in the hallway, or whether you are me shooting a psychiatrist and you only have 10 minutes in between his two patients. That's kind of the first category we're going to start with.
Sounds good.
So there are two different kind of celebrity or corporate things that I kind of do with branding. The first one is if you just need like a really simple headshot. I will either set it up with Henry, which I have a skull that I named Henry because Shakespeare, and I will put my skull on a light stand and do all my tests with that. Or if I have an assistant with me that day, I will have them stand in, get everything tested well in advance. And I like to have a full half an hour to an hour to set up before I have to work with the client in that instance. As for getting the actual photo, I try to have them give me a full 5 minutes of their time. Sometimes it doesn't take that long. Sometimes I can get it in like a minute or two, and they're like, cool, I'm happy with that, and they can move on. I can tear down and get out of their hair. Mm-hmm. But there's this one guy that sticks in my memory because he walked in. Just imagine Santa Claus without a beard, okay? And he was just a very jolly, nice, wonderful fellow. And then I put the camera up to hit my face, and he just made this awful, weird grimace. And I looked at the back of my camera. I'm like, this man is going to eat your children. You should not leave them in the same room alone with him. What the heck? And that one took a little time to kind of like get him to drop his guard enough that I could get a genuine like smile and reaction out of him. So I like to have a full 5 minutes. Sometimes I don't get it. So I would say if you're doing that, plan for at least an hour to set up, scope out the room, get your stuff in. And you know what? Maybe it only takes you 20, 30 minutes and you're sitting on your hands. Great. I would much rather have that than my client shows up and I'm not ready for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say I don't really have a whole lot of experience with legit celebrity photo shoots, but I have done some corporate stuff, both stills and video. And in my case, I would say if you're shooting a single person, I generally plan on like half a day, because you need to potentially get there. You need to set up. That's going to take a while. You need to tear down, even though the photo itself might not take too long, or video. Because I've done both. So yeah, ultimately, I don't think for individuals it's taken much longer than half an hour when they're actually there and shooting, and sometimes even just minutes depending on their availability. But I plan all in all for generally about a half day for one, assuming you're not doing a continual setup.
Yeah, so I was going to say that's actually the second kind of corporate photography where you have to do like a whole branding thing.
Exactly.
So like I did something for a mechanic where he had like one or two specific shots he wanted of like, we have this tool, not a lot of people have it. Can you please get a photo of us using that tool? Other than that, we just have an empty website with a bunch of stock photos and we need photos of us, our garage, work in progress, the office, kind of like just fill up all of the pages of our website. So I like to plan either a half day or a full day for that kind of shoot. And the thing is, like, there was a time where like he actually went and just like started working on a car and I was just kind of hanging out taking photos while he worked. And every once in a while I was like, hey, can you just slide out when you have a second so I can get you like on the dolly going under the car, that kind of thing. So yeah, the first kind is you only have a couple of minutes, and the second kind is you're doing like a full branding editorial, and I like to have a half day to a full day for that.
Yeah, and if you're shooting, if it's the type of corporate photography where you're shooting like headshots for everybody, that takes as long as you have people.
Yes.
So,
yeah, I've done it for like a dentist's office where he says, hey, no one is scheduled for that hour. I'm running all of my staff through in that hour. And you can do that. And then I've also had it where all of our staff have clients and you have to get them in between the breaks. So maybe I get 2 or 3 people and then like I'm sitting for 45 minutes and I'm waiting for the next 2 or 3 people to, come out of their office and into the conference room. So it happens. I like to try to be nice to my corporate clients for that dead time. As long as they're not abusing it and making my life miserable, I like to charge a flat fee per head versus how many hours it takes, because then they feel like you're not rushing them or nickel and diming them. But there you go. I think we've pretty well covered celebrity, corporate, what I call celebrity anyway. The opposite end of the spectrum, TFP. So TFP means time for prints or time for photos, and that is no one is paying anyone. You're just both portfolio building. And it's funny because all the models I've worked with, they're like, wow, the photographers who work with me, usually I only get like 10 minutes of their time and then they're gone. And to me, I know the style that I shoot, I cannot make a portfolio-worthy photo that I am happy to show the world as my most amazing piece of work in 10 minutes. So I always like to have at least like an hour, sometimes 2 when I do TFP, because I really want to fine-tune and be really nitpicky and micromanagey so I get the perfect photo that I'm looking for, and then the model is also happy with the shots.
I should say that I don't have a whole lot of TFP experience when it comes to stills. That being said, I have a decent amount when it comes to video, and that, in my experience, unfortunately, it's a time sink. Like, it can often
video
be
takes
like an entire
so much
day
longer.
or multiple days or a week or weeks sometimes. Like, video can take a just ridiculous amount of time. Building like the amount of free work that new videographers do to build a reel is immense.
I mean, I've done it. I'm still doing it. How long did it take us? So I bought the new probe lens, which we have mentioned several times, and we did if you look at our Facebook, I did a shot of the probe going across a turntable record player. How long did it take us to get that 2-second shot?
I think at least 3 hours, probably.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it could have been more. It felt
and
like
we
3
got
hours-ish.
it nearly perfect on like the first take too.
Yeah, but that required just tons of setup. I mean, that first take took hours of setting up.
Yeah. So no, video is a beast. Be kind to yourself and give yourself time. You're like, oh, I've been at this so long and it's not working. Yeah, video takes a long time.
Yep.
All right. Let's see. What other categories do you have? Editorial.
Editorial.
That'd be fun.
I used to, so I haven't done a whole lot of editorial in my working career, but when I was a college student, I worked for the paper, and I did quite a lot of editorial then.
That's true.
And that editorial, I would say, it's not real world work, but you do, at least when I was there, you do get paid. It is a pretty big paper, all things considered. It's pretty legit. So like, there's a legit process involved.
You and I have a very different experience with editorial because you did newspaper and I did magazines.
Yeah, we've done different sides of the print world.
So yeah, mine was you have this one model and these 5 outfits, and you need to make like a double truck spread of just some nice stuff, and then we're gonna feature it, and then it's going to be the person like in interview or something with them.
Yeah.
And for that, again, at least 2 hours, because you want, like, you're going to spend all this time shooting all these concepts and outfits and different stuff. And then what's going to get published? Like 2 photos, maybe 3 or 4 photos, like not a whole lot of what you shot that day. So, no, editorial takes some time for sure.
Yeah, editorial is in papers. It can vary quite a bit because sometimes it's like the entire duration of an event. You're covering an event, so you're just shooting tons of stuff, and
like
you
a football
pick out,
game or something.
Yeah, like a football game, and you pick out a few really choice images that you go with. Sometimes you're just getting a headshot, which is we've pretty much covered that for a story, and oftentimes it can be totally random stuff. Like one of the things that I did for the paper that was particularly notable is I used drones for editorial use, which when I was in college basically wasn't a thing. I was one of the first people and one of the only people in the college news sphere that was using drones for editorial, and that could be going out somewhere and shooting with the drone, or it could be just in the area around the school or on the campus, shooting some particular building, or even I did drone editorial event coverage as well, very carefully, but it was a thing. So it can really depend. Oftentimes you have photographers on a newspaper staff that specialize in particular areas, and they go out and they do the same thing all the time. But sometimes, like in my case, I was kind of a generalist. I just kind of bounced around where anything was
like
needed.
they have one guy who shoots football, and then they have someone else who goes and shoots like the professors doing interviews.
Exactly. So there can be quite a variance. I would say generally it was never under at least a couple hours for even the most simple shoot. But it was. I really enjoyed it. I think editorial is really fun and kind of underrated. That being said, unfortunately, with how newspapers are going nowadays, you see less and less good editorial photography. There's not a lot of money and effort and time being put into it, and now people are pretty happy to just do cell phone photos that the writer just takes. So it's unfortunately a dying art. In many ways.
On the flip side of it, though, one thing that I will say, and this is something that I learned from Lindsay Adler, who is a fashion photographer. So she gets paid almost nothing for her editorial work. She is a world famous, top notch, like instructor. You know the name. You Google it. She's the first one who comes up. She sells courses. She does all kinds of stuff. Like it or hate it, she's a big deal. But yeah, she's like, at most I'll get paid like maybe $300 if I'm lucky for like a whole day editorial. It's like nothing. That's less than what I charge for an hour. That's insane. But the thing is, she loves doing editorial because her basically her criteria for taking on an editorial job is I will shoot it my way. That's why I'm doing this. And they're like, cool, you're Lindsay Adler, knock yourself out. So she gets creative freedom over an editorial that she might not have over like a client paid shoot. But then people will see her editorials and hire her for client paid shoots. So they make her money through the exposure. I hate the work for exposure thing, but that's her creative outlet.
Exposure.
But
editorial is really fun because you're telling a story. You get to tell the story, and in general, you get to tell it how you want to tell it. I mean, there's certain kind of beats that you need to hit, but it really is a space to be very potentially very artistic and really kind of flex your own vision. Which is very fun.
I was gonna say flex too.
Yeah, there you go.
Sometimes you don't have a lot of opportunity for that. When I'm doing a headshot, there's not a lot of flexing going on. It's a pretty simple setup.
Yeah.
Let's see. You were talking about like a drone stuff. So
Yes.
let's talk about like landscape. So
landscape, boy.
I feel like there's two different ways to do this. Way number one is like give yourself at least 2 to 3 hours, and way number two is give yourself like multiple days.
Yeah, I was gonna say or 2 to 3 days. This depends hugely on what you're shooting and how you're shooting it. If you want to do the really hardcore, be there at like 3:00 in the morning to get some particular light that shines through some rock at some particular angle. You just have to be there, and oftentimes that's an expedition. Like you're planning months in advance. You're going there at a specific time. You bring, you camp on site. You get all of this stuff just for one shot. So it's at this huge expense, both in time and in equipment, because it's often not just photography equipment. And you get like one photo out of it.
When I went to Yellowstone this summer, we went up the Sun Road. Is that Yellowstone or is that Montana Glacier National Park? Where's Sun Road?
Offhand,
that's Glacier.
That's
sure. Glacier.
I don't think it's Yellowstone. Yeah.
I hit up both. I took many a photo. I am not a good landscape photographer. I do not remember these things. So we go up the Sun Road, and basically day number one was just garbage. There was no sunset. We had beautiful, perfect blue skies, but like it was a little bit hazy because of like wildfire fog. So the sun was just kind of like a yellow thing in the sky. And then it just got dark. We didn't get any cool clouds. We didn't get any cool colors. There were no interesting reflections or lights or like the God rays that you get if it were like mist. None of that. It just went floop. And I'm like, oh, wow, that was super disappointing. Let's come back tomorrow. And we did. And it turned out amazing. So that's just one of those things of like, if you really want it, you just have to keep going back.
Yep. Yeah, you have to just put in the time. It's over this whole list, it might be like the single most time intensive per like finished photo of any photo shoot you can do.
Bar none.
Similarly, this isn't elsewhere on this list, but I will mention wildlife photography is often the same way. Like you are embedding into a sometimes a literal jungle, and you have to have blinds, you have to have really expensive lenses that you had to pack in and hike in for like 10 miles, and oftentimes the animal doesn't even show up. Now I can't say this too much from experience. I am not lucky enough to have done wildlife photography for money before, but I have done a lot of research on the topic, and I have a lot of interest in wildlife photography, and that's what it takes. Like the best wildlife photographers and the best landscape photographers, I feel like it's just a matter of putting yourself in the situation where maybe something cool will happen, but at least 9 9 times out of 10 it doesn't happen, and you have to just keep reattempting. Yeah, it's nuts.
I tried shooting some landscape on that trip, but or some wildlife, I mean, but we saw some goats. That was about it. That's all I got.
Yeah, it requires immense patience and time just to get anything good. I mean, the reason why stuff like Planet Earth comes out once a decade is because it takes a decade to get, a few hours worth of good footage. Yeah. And that's like thousands of people working over the entire globe. Like, this kind of stuff is just a time sink. It's amazing when you pull it off, but it's a time sink.
Okay, so let's talk real estate. So there are 2 different kinds of real estate. There is cheap real estate and expensive real estate.
And cheap real estate doesn't exist in the Seattle area. Thanks a lot.
You might think when it comes to money, it might not exist. But when it comes to photography, there's nothing but cheap real estate. It's insane. Because the market is so hot, they don't need good photos for it to sell.
They hardly even need photos.
So
people buy sight unseen. That's the next step.
Cheap real estate. Don't give yourself more than 20 to 30 minutes per house. You just walk through each room, assuming it's already been staged. You just aim the flash like behind you or bounce it off the ceiling or something, kind of like tone it down to like meet with the ambience of the room. You just walk through your room, the house with your wide angle lens, 20, 30 minutes, get your paycheck, move on to the next house. So one way to do it is you can make some good money by doing like 10 to 20 houses a day. There you go. Yeah. Or what you can do is the type of, like, F-Stoppers, I know, has a really good tutorial on real estate photography where they go into, like, Beverly Hills mansions. And he's like, here's how you use your flash to light up this one, like, alcove sconce. And then here's how you composite it into the main room image. That one, you're looking at, like, a full day minimum, if not 2 days, depending on the size of the house. So, real estate photography, either just, like, go as fast as you can because your DSLR is better than the real estate photographer's or the real estate agent's cell phone, or like take the full day and take your time. And like if it's $10 million mansion, like you better make it look nice. But no, the market right now is so stupid. Like, don't waste your time. Nice photos just as quick as you can, half an hour tops.
And really, like, in my experience with this, the good real estate photography is a lot in just the setup. Like, does the house look nice? Does it get good light?
Was it staged?
Like, was it staged? Then it'll probably look good, even if it's a quick snap. Side note, I see so much bad over HDR in real estate. Please tone it down. Real estate photographers, please tone down the HDR. I'd like to see what the house actually looks like, not
do the realistic setting.
Version.
If you're gonna HDR because there's a window, I want to know what's out the window. I want to know if I'm looking at a neighbor's fence or if I'm looking at an oceanfront view. So HDR, yes, but put it on the realistic setting so I see what it actually looks like. Don't crank those sliders because you think it looks cool. Stop it.
In theory, I'm buying a house, not a painting. I mean, I'm not buying a house, but somebody buying a house is buying a house, not a painting.
As a person who just got a house, oh my God, the photos on this house, not bad. The garage looked haunted, but that was just because there was absolutely no light in there, and there were like cables just dangling awkwardly from the ceiling in the middle of the room. But
all in the staging.
It looks nice now. FYI to any clients listening, my studio is not haunted. We have done our smudging and exorcism, and we're good to go. Okay. Product photography.
Speaking of staging, product photography.
Oh, dear Lord. Product photography. Okay, so product photography, there are two different things, okay? When I worked at Amazon, we put a bottle on a tray. The photographer took a photo. Sometimes it required a second photo because like the nozzle, it needed to be like a specific direction, but when they screwed it down tight, it didn't line up with like the label. So they would take the first photo and then turn it, take the second photo. But that's it. You clean the product, you stage it, you put it on the white, you click, and you move on. It's literally like 30 seconds.
Yeah, if you're just doing on white, then
So
it's an assembly line.
that is assuming that you're doing volume. and you're already set up. So to set that up might take an hour or two. If you're shooting for a client where they only have like 20 products, you don't already have an on-white setup like in your living room or your studio or whatever. So that might take an hour or so for you to set up, and then 30 seconds per thing. Amazon, they were doing this all day, every day. So the photographer just walks in and every minute they're cranking out a new thing. And then I had 2 minutes to retouch it and make it look, I had 2 minutes to make this $10 bottle of perfume look like the $1,000 it sells for on Amazon. But then the second type of photography was, what's a good example? Leatherman. I did a bunch of work for Leatherman, and they make great knives, but when they send it to us for photography, they send us prototypes that look like absolute Whoops, I shouldn't say that. They send us prototypes that are in less than ideal condition because they still have machining marks, and the logo has a typo on it and all kinds of crazy stuff. And that one, roughly like 4 hours, I think, per hero shot. So when I say hero shot, it's like the main image one that you see on the e-commerce site. Obviously, it's not going to take 4 hours to be like, hey, can you open up and show that this blade actually has like a spring in the scissors or something? Like, that's not going to take you that long. You just take it. But no, there's a lot that goes into product photography, making sure all of the reflections are perfect in the angle, and sometimes like depth of field, and there's just a lot of considerations that go into it rather than the just like volume of like, we have this one expensive thing we're going to sell many, many times. It needs to look amazing and immaculate, which is the type of product photography I prefer. Give yourself roughly like at 2 to 4 hours per hero shot. But of course it's based on like, this stuff is all so hard to do because it's totally based on their budget. So I remember there was a guy who did like vaping products, and he's like, hey, I just need some photos for my e-commerce store. And I'm like, well, here are the extremes. You have Leatherman doing 4 hours per photo, and you have Amazon doing a minute per photo. What is your budget? And I will make it as nice as I can, kind of in that time limit. So you kind of have to meet people halfway, but those are kind of the extremes I feel on that one.
Yeah, I mean, and for hero shots, you know, it's not just the product. It's like, it has to be in an environment. Like, there have to be relevant objects around it potentially, or as companions.
Like a model actually cutting something with the knife is actually so hard. That'll take a long time. Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff that go into like really true hero product shots. So sometimes like it could be a day for a hero shot, like potentially, if it requires that kind of setup. How expensive is the thing, and how many are you selling?
Exactly.
Like
there's a huge range.
Yeah, there's a huge range.
Side note, Leathermans are awesome. I always carry one.
Oh, they are amazing. No, I'm just saying that the prototypes we get are straight from the factory, and they still have like machine tool scratch marks. They are not finished floor model knives that we get for photography, unfortunately.
I'm not sponsored. I just like Leatherman. I mean, I guess Ben was sponsored. I'm not sponsored by Leatherman. I just like
Leatherman. Not sponsored. I was working for a third-party company. I was not hired by Leatherman directly, but I did I did basically the entirety of their website for like an 18-month period of time. And slowly that stuff is getting rotated out. So I have a bunch of it on like my Behance, but like when people ask me, I'm like, I don't know, man, like go to their website. I did all their stuff for a year and a half. It's that level of quality, but I don't know if the actual knives I did are still there. Like that's what I got. Yep. Okay. So kind of a sub genre of product photography, food photography.
Yes.
So I've done a little bit of food photography. There was one that I did where there was this chef that was making like pre-packaged salads. And so we did a like salad kind of bowl toss thing to make it look like it was all crispy and wonderful and immaculate. And I think that took like 2 hours or so to get. But the other kind of food photography that I've done is actually taco time. If you walk into a Taco Time and you look at all of the on-white photos on their menu, the sky.
I didn't know you did the Taco Time menus.
I did a lot of I did a lot of Taco Time menus. The thing is, a lot of the stuff that I did was actually for the corporate takeout catering menu.
Shout out to Taco Time.
Yeah,
this is Taco Time Northwest, right? There are more than one.
There
I want to say this is Taco Time Northwest.
Yeah, there. I'm in Seattle, so it was like a local Taco Time.
Yeah.
It wasn't like corporate worldwide or anything. No, I did a bunch of stuff for Taco Time.
Good deal.
So what happens for that one is it's kind of the same thing for Leatherman, where it's 2 to 4 hours per shot. Because what happens is you have the art director and the chef, the actual you have the chef actually making it, and then you have a food stylist. So the minimum of those 3 people are hovering over your shoulder. And then there's the photographer, and then probably like photographer's assistant. And then usually photographers don't even do their own retouching for jobs like that, because people are retouching it while the photographer's shooting more stuff. And then the art director can go look at the retoucher screen and be like, those tomatoes need to just look a little bit more red. Can you make the meat just look a little more wet? Like these are some of the instructions I've received before. So for that, how it works is they actually do 2 versions of everyone. So real quick and dirty, they make you let's just say a taco, right? So they make you a taco, you plop it down on set, and then the photographer and the stylist and the assistants just kind of work with that taco. And they figure everything out. They figure out how they're going to do their lighting and reflectors and, stances, and if anything's going to be kind of sprinkled about. And they figure all of that out. And then once that's all figured out, they by this time, the cheese doesn't look like fresh and melted. It's like starting to congeal, and the lettuce is getting like a little bit wilty under the lights, and like the meat is kind of like, and it's getting like a little gray. So they wipe that away, and then they make a brand new one. They plop it down on set, and boom, done.
Food is hard.
So,
I have shot.
Yeah, like
I have
4 hours
shot
or so.
ice cream, and like drinks, milkshakes, coffee stuff. Boy, does that look bad! Like almost instantaneously. I mean, like shooting ice cream in a cone, like is ridiculous. You have like literally 10 seconds before something falls, or the sauce looks bad, or
when all of the lights were these like halogen and incandescent and like hot lights, they shot all of that with like mashed potatoes and stuff.
Exactly.
Because it just looked bad instantly. So nowadays, they actually do the photos with real ice cream, but they do it in the method I talked about, where maybe they will have a stand-in of like, here's my fake ice cream to represent that thing while I get everything set up and do what the art director wants. And now we're going to plop in the hero shot, get our 1 frame before it melts to hell, and then we're done. So no, plan at least 2 to 4 hours for a proper food shoot. Because the other thing too is like you'll get it all set up, and then you're like, great, make one. And now it's going to take them 20 minutes to like make that burger patty absolutely perfect and squared. And like they're meticulous and they take their time, and it's worth it. So
side note, food video is like a million hours for
I have
second.
Never tried food video, but now that I have a probe lens, I kind of wanna.
I've done a little tiny bit, but I also have just looked into food video production in general, and it's nuts. Like there are some of the most meticulous motion tracked crazy rigs to do 2 seconds, or like the famous one that a lot of people have seen is
the burger drop.
Usually, a burger drop, or stuff pouring. Like there's all sorts of different things where something's coming together in the frame, and the rigs for those, the precision that's required is crazy.
You want to do it?
We should do it.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
But yeah, the precision for something like that is
Let's
nuts.
ruin our weekend and try and get a 2-second clip.
Yeah, but for real, like it could take a couple days to get 5 seconds, if that. Yeah, it's crazy.
There was actually one burger shot that I did for Seattle Met magazine, where they were doing an article on the best burgers in Seattle. And the shot was a deconstructed burger where every single ingredient was maybe an inch away from each other. So we had some like mustard and ketchup squirts and pickles floating just off the lettuce, floating just off the burger. And that one of like, we had this big rig and all of these little like basically like skewers and clips and everything to kind of hold this rig together. And I think that was like a 2-day shoot.
Yeah, I believe it.
It was fun though. I wish I would have gotten a tear sheet of that cover, but I was an assistant / retoucher on that one. I wasn't the lead photographer, so I didn't get the tear sheet. Anyway,
next time.
All right. I think we've covered that pretty well and good. We can start wrapping this up. There are just a couple more that I know I get questions about. Weddings. Generally, when someone hires you for a wedding, they want you to be there when it starts and leave when it ends. But there are people that are cheap, and when I say cheap, I don't mean that as a judgment call, kind of, but they are going to try to, obviously, weddings are expensive, and they're going to try and optimize and be like, you know what, we don't really need you for part A or part Z, can we just get this chunk? So if you are a wedding photographer, here is what I'm going to tell you to advise your clients. Now, obviously, this advice does not count if they're doing like an elopement and have like 15, 20 guests, right? Which COVID done a couple of those. But if COVID time's over, you're doing a full 200 person wedding and they want all those getting ready shots with the details and the shoes and the necklace, and they want that end of night sparkler shot, no less than 8 hours. Just boom, there it is. The reason why I say that is every wedding where they tried to go with my 3-hour package and just add on hours, and they normally get up to about 6 or so, it is really tight, really scrambled. They always go over. It's super stressful to try and like cram all the stuff they want in so I can leave at their 6-hour mark so they don't have to like pay for hour 7. Yeah, no, it's rough. So if you're a wedding photographer, absolutely offer the elopement package. Offer the, hey, you only need a courthouse wedding. Hey, you only want a fashion shoot and your family and friends and like that kind of thing. Offer that. But for someone who's doing I want a full A to Z, please advise your clients no less than 8 hours. And then I always tell people if you're ethnic or Catholic, then add another 2.
Oh man. I have kind of avoided weddings in general. I've assisted on a few. I have shot one myself. Pretty much like, how long is the wedding? Add on an hour or 2 on top of that. 8 hours, very reasonable from my perspective. But
So obviously, if someone's hiring you for a wedding, take whatever, they're going to give you and do your best. But if you have the chance to advise them and they will heed your advice, 8 hours, or you are doing them a grand disservice and the day is going to be stressful and they're going to miss stuff. The other thing too is I've had everyone in a friends group hires me. Okay. Person A and B get a full day package. Person C says, I only want 6 hours. And then person C looks at the photos from person A and B and goes, dang it, I wish I would have gone for the full day. I can't believe I missed. And because they're seeing all the stuff they missed that their friends are posting. So, that's there you go. Boom. There's the answer. All right. Couple more here. So let's see. Family photos. Very straightforward. Classic. And this is whether it is like, and when I say family photos, whether it's like kids, senior pictures, couple portraits, engagement portraits, Christmas card, an hour. You can do it 20 minutes if you're doing like a mini session. But I just say it's an hour. And sometimes
they're not particularly complicated from a mechanical perspective.
No, that just gives you enough time and variety. If you go with anything shorter than that, the problem is, generally speaking, they are hiring you and then you are going to sell them stuff after. If you do any less than an hour, you won't have enough variety to sell them. You are cutting off your own legs. if you do less than an hour. Any more than an hour is gratuitous. You're wasting your own time. They're getting tired. The kids are melting down. The couples is starting to squabble. They don't want to kiss anymore. Like, no, cap it. So sometimes it's like 45 minutes. Sometimes it's like an hour and a half because you're just all having fun and you want to keep shooting. Cool. Yeah. But like an hour.
An hour-ish.
That covers it. Is there anything we didn't talk about?
There is one thing we didn't talk about, and that is not wildlife photography, but pet photography. Still animals.
You know what? Let's save that for next time. Dun 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 dun.
This is where we plug our next episode.
Next time on the podcast, we're gonna talk everything about pet photography. How Spot or Fido, or Whiskers. How do you get an amazing photo of them? Coming up next.
If you have questions or ideas for future episodes, you can email us at hello@photo-op.show.
Watch us on Ben's YouTube channel at NomCreative.
As in Om Nom Nom.
Share this with a friend, and you can listen to Photo Op anywhere podcasts are sold.
Or download it. 'Cause it's free.